At this point, we want to cross over to our sister station, that is Spice FM, where they're sitting down with the special presidential envoy for the President of the Republic of South Sudan, that is Albino Mathom Ayuel Abong. And of course, he's in studio discussing why Kenya should not invite anarchy and the importance of political stability. My name is Anki Doris Umbat, and even though we did not have what's trending, what I know is trending for sure is the song Anguka Nayo. Have a lovely day.
This and the other, and there are various voices. At what point would that lose momentum, lose steam, or lose direction? From your experience, looking at everything else around the world.
Thank you very much. The issue of they don't have a leader, I don't believe it. For example, I was a special envoy of the African Union in 2014 for Central African Republic, and the peace was negotiating here. It was negotiated here in Nairobi. I was the head of the AU delegation, and by then the chief mediator was the former speaker, Kenneth Marende, deputized by General Monike. So I'm a little bit very familiar with Kenya politics. You can't start something and you don't know where it will end. Let me give you an example about 5-6 countries in Africa. Central Africa. Demonstration is started in Central Africa against former President Bozizi. And it turned to be against the Muslim and Christian, Anti-Balaka and Selika, without a leader. But later on, 6 months later, Bozizi emerged leading the Christian. Ditoja emerged leading the Muslim. And that's what has brought the civil war in Central African Republic. My wife is from Mali, from West Africa. Abu Bakr Keita was the president of Mali. And one of the youth made the uprising against Abu Bakr Keita. And they said they don't have a leader, yes, they are calling for A and B, things you are talking about. But it ended up, somebody somehow, somewhere was pushing to take over. Assem Quetta, the current president of Mali. And that's what happened in Niger. The head of the presidential guard took over. In Burkina Faso, the head of the military intelligence took over. In Guinea-Conakry, the head of the presidential guard took over. In Gabon, the head of the presidential guard took over. So it start with an emotional aspect, but it end with somebody somehow, somewhere was planning for it. So it should not be misled.
So essentially what you're doing, if you apply that same logic here, is that even with what is being called a leaderless movement, where there are very, very, very many people in terms of number, that we see manifestation of that come out into the streets of Nairobi, into Mombasa, Kisumu, Eldoret, around the country, and they say, you know what, these are all people who have pain points, and they've come together on those pain points, and they're asking a government to be accountable. What you're saying is that there could be somebody who comes in and takes advantage of the situation and places him or herself at that position of leadership? Yeah,
I want you to take a little bit of research on Mali. The Imam Diko, you can write that, claimed to be the leader in Mali, Imam Diko. The current Imam is currently in jail in Mali. The Imam Diko.
Diko is in jail.
Diko is in jail.
Yeah.
Okay.
The one who was
saying he was
the leader and all this.
Yes.
And this gentleman, Assem Quetta, came from the northern Mali, and he took over. And he is now, in the name of the public uprising, all of them, in these 5 countries, none of them have hand over the power to the people.
They have stayed on.
Absolutely.
Albino, how did they When they are coming now to emerge as the leaders of these movements, are they accepted by the people? The people who are out on the streets, because it starts with the people in their masses coming out on the streets and expressing themselves and even coming up with a list of demands, while these guys are in the background. When they come to the foreground, are they prompted by people to come to the foreground? Are they welcomed to come, or do they come and forcefully take over the movement?
Start with the people.
Okay.
Start with the people and demands, similar to what is going on in Kenya. Just go back a little bit. In 1979, the Iran revolution started with the people of Iran.
Yep.
They got rid of the king, Zar Shah. But who took over after that? Ayatollah Khamenei. Until today, it has turned from left to right.
So do they come in and then they get accepted by the people? I'm trying to figure out that movement.
By then, the regime, the system of the regime, which got rid of the other's regime, it became the military system. When there is a military system, you don't demonstrate. And there are some, for example, Ethiopia. Start with the uprising, similar to Kenya. They got rid of, after the death of late Prime Minister Meles Zenawi, somebody came in, the Sele, the uprising start. Then Abiy Ahmed took over. Then the Tigrais and Oromos and the Amaras in the northern part were not happy. So they went for the, again, the government using the same tactics.
The people.
Yes, the people. But they were crushed. And that's why you can see there is a civil war in Ethiopia. War in Oromo region. War in the Apar region. War in Amara region. War in Tigray region. Don't joke with it, my friend.
You know, his rendition of that particular history is actually absolutely accurate. Because there is, when you have fragmentation within communities, for instance, whether you call it the tribal factor or those who are in the north and those who are in the east, or you bring in religion, even if it's the same religion but divisions within it, correctly, there are always people who sit, observe, and know how they can take advantage of it. And as he says, what we've seen over time is when the military take over, they are loath to leave that particular position.
Absolutely.
The place where they have tried probably is in Nigeria. But what did it cost the Nigerians before?
A long while.
Yes, what did it cost the Nigerians before they got there?
I'm very close. Somebody said here is from Nigeria. I'm very close to the former president, Goodluck Jonathan. Even I named my son after him, because when I did my wedding, he wasn't. He was there to represent me. Very, very, very close to Goodluck Jonathan. Goodluck Jonathan came from this state called is a Ijo tribe.
Yeah.
From I forgot the name of the state.
It is all right. Continue.
It is in the southern
southern part of
Bayelsa.
Yeah,
Bayelsa
Bayelsa
state.
State.
Came from Bayelsa state. He told me a lot what happened in during the war, civil war, the Biafra war. He said those who fought during the time of the Biafra war were not there to lead the people. And it have happened with the SPLM, SPLA. Those who were fighting are not now the one who are leading in Sudan, in South Sudan.
Those who pushed for the independence of South
for the
Sudan.
independence of South Sudan. Indeed, I can tell you, the Secretary General, who I'm negotiating with now, was the Secretary General of the ruling party. Two former chief of the staff of the army forces. I'm now negotiating with them, not yesterday, today. And they were in the previous government and leading the government. So I'm talking based on what I know, not based on what I have heard about it.
Have we seen something? I mean, obviously, there's a wealth of experience here. And when you look at different conflicts or different uprisings that led to something else, have we seen the counter? That it is actually possible to have a group of people for which there is no one person who is taking the front and saying that they've actually succeeded? Or are we saying that something like this, which is revolutionary in nature, right? What it will do is that we will birth an idea for which there will be somebody who will come and take up that mantle and lead. Are we saying that this state, where you look at things changing in the manner in which they are, it's not necessarily that a leader will come forward, but it is setting us off into a period, or setting folks into a period whereby somebody will then come and lead that particular dispensation? Would we see that?
Well, again and again, I will not talk about a Kenyan affairs because I'm not a Kenyan, but I'll talk about what I know. I've given you an example of Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso, Guinea-Conakry, and Gabon, and Sudan, Libya, and others. It start with the public uprising. The issue there is no leader, I don't believe in it, because anyhow, somewhere, somehow, there will be a leader at the end of the day.
I agree with you. Even now, there is a leader, or there are leaders.
Absolutely.
Yes.
They are leaders.
There's nothing.
There
like
is
a leader,
nothing called
a leaderless movement.
No. It is absolutely a freedom of speech for me.
Yes.
Somebody somehow is talking. So there is a leader, but they are hiding.
But you know, there's this little question. You know, it's called usurping power. But I'm trying to think. I'm trying to take my mind back in history, or people who usurped power, and trying to see if there are any who usurped power and actually did well for the country. See, like, there are those who would argue, for instance, you mentioned Egypt. There are those who argue that the military felt that the Brotherhood would bring the country to disarray. So, again, their reasoning, not that it's the truth, their reasoning was that if they took over, they were actually helping the country. It's either they're doing it for the people or they're doing it for the country. It is always. But then, the evidence of what they're actually doing can be seen in the actions. Do we have any examples where the military has taken over and the people's lives have actually changed for the better?
I will start with Nigeria, since there is somebody here from Nigeria. In Nigeria, the last military was after Abdul Salam Abubakar step aside. It was the last military. Obasanjo was the former. And then you have the Sani Abacha in 1990.
Who was actually a military president.
and then you have our Ibrahim Babangida, IBB, or how do you call it?
IBB, yeah.
Yes.
And Babangida.
Absolutely.
Yes.
It is started in Nigeria, including even the outgoing president, Muhammadu Buhari, who actually was the president.
Was military.
Yeah,
it was a general.
It was a general. Yes.
Yep.
So when they took over, they take over in the name of the people.
Yes.
But when they are there in their own name.
The people's story changes.
Absolutely.
Are there
Even in the region here, there are some countries I don't want to talk about it.
Yes.
Albino, are there instances where the people have actually agitated and their governments have changed? Not necessarily that the governments have been toppled, removed from office, military taken over, but that things have changed in the country. Whether it's a snap election that's been called, an election that's happened, or changes that have happened leading to an election, and then an election happens and the government actually now starts responding to the people's demands. Do you have examples from across the globe?
Not in Africa, but in Europe, yes.
All right.
In Europe, you have the last revolution of the military in Spain. And if you go to Biro, the last military dictator, which was overthrew, public uprising, and then in Chile, for example. But I have not seen
But
that.
those are military leaders then being removed.
Yes.
We're talking about a civilian government.
Yes.
And then a civilian uprising of people just coming out to say we are not happy. A government responding to that, and peace continues with another civilian government or same civilian government.
The answer is no in Africa. And if I don't know, then somebody need to educate me.
Okay.
Because, for example, you could have given an example in Egypt. But in Egypt, Hosni Mubarak left. Then the Muslim Brotherhood came.
Yes.
Then the military came and refused and changed the constitution. They stay. Tunisia, Zain al-Abidin bin Ali was overthrown by the public, but there has been a lot of change. Left wing, right wing, and the country. For example, high inflation right now going on in Egypt. I don't know if anybody have seen what is going on in Egypt. It's deserved a little bit.
The other side of it could be that, in all those examples that we're giving, there is a government in place that does not seem to listen, to respond to the demands of the people. Okay? And then you'd have examples where, say, even the example that Siti gave us earlier of this country here called Kenya, where in the late 80s, the people are rising up and saying, no, we do not like the system of government the way it is. It's a multi-party system. No, we want change. And the leader of the government then, and those in government, the government listens and says, all right, people are demanding. Let me hear what the people are demanding. Let me cede what the people are asking for. Right? Multipartyism comes in, and then you move into a transition of power from civilian to civilian by the people. If a government responds to its people, I see then that would answer what the people, the general masses, are asking for, and deny any other person the opportunity to infiltrate, come and take over and ride this thing to their advantage. True or not?
It's true, as you have put it, but in the real sense, for example, here in Kenya, I have President Ruto answer the voice of the people. You're Kenyan, you have to tell me.
He's responding by and by.
He is showing signs of responding.
Yes.
The example that Eric has given was from the time of President Daniel Arap Moi, where we had a one-party state by law. So he repealed that law.
Yes.
Multipartyism came in. Now, many things happened that had never happened before, but many sectors within the Kenyan community actually started working together. And they worked together, and the eventual outcome was the constitution that we have, what we call the 2010 constitution. Okay? But something interesting also happened. Around us, we were accustomed to presidents, civilian, who take power, change the constitution, then they become presidents for life. President Moi, they adhered to the limit of a 10-year period. 10 years passed, he left. The next president came in 10 years, left. That was Kibaki. Uhuru came in 10 years, left. So a tradition of adhering to those tenets was set. Now, that we can say was set, but the problem was, here you have a situation where it is clear, if I can put it simply, people who are rich just keep getting richer, and those who are poor are getting poorer. And services that are supposed to come to them do not come to them. Now, you mentioned the current president, the current situation that he's in. It doesn't matter how good you are. When economic situations don't favor the majority of people,
Absolutely.
You have a problem, and a very big one. And your response to it will determine whether you stay in power or not. Now, the uprising has to do with people saying we are tired of being taxed when we are not certain where the tax we're already paying, where it goes to. Simple. And a raft of conditions are set. What we now see with the president saying, okay, all cabinet out, that is a step, what do you call a step in the right direction.